everyone. Welcome to the Pure Origin Theatre. Thank you very much for joining us today. And now we have a presentation from Young Gerald, the founder of Bespoke Textiles. And she's going to be giving you a presentation on 25 years of working in fashion and textiles with luxury brands and how to source from Hong Kong and China as an overseas buyer. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Please.
Clicked it on already. So, hello everyone. My name's Young Gerald, and I'm the founder of Bespoke Textiles, as Catherine's already mentioned. I'm also, what we do is we design and develop and source unique luxury textile items and textile-related products, even uniforms, for high-end hospitality brands. I'll actually skip through. There we are. And some of our clients include some of the people we have here on the board, some rather pixelated. And what we do, we supply these products, we develop and design, source, deliver, and to these unique clients annually, every year, internationally. So to give you a bit of context, I've got some notes there. I wanted to go back a step. So I'm also the soon-to-be author of The Textile Touch, which is really going to show how you do this for five-star brands, both in heritage brands or hospitality, and how I've created their signature style and incorporate it into textiles, and how to go about sourcing and developing a product range that's unique to your brand. So that's coming out in May. We were also finalists last year for the Sustainability Award, which is from the National Business Awards. So that was a great honour to be up against some amazing competitors. And some of the fashion brands that we've sourced and developed for over the years, because I've had a few consulting companies, and these include Eccentrics, Billy Bag, Mina, Total Wardrobe Care, Brit Lindner, La Petite Salop, to name a few brands. And so that gives you a context for the kind of luxury fashion that I helped source and developed. And these were many brands that were showing at British Fashion Week and London Fashion Week, and I helped them once they become a bit more stable and they were having orders coming in. They wanted to set up their supply chain and actually the manufacturing efficiently, and that's what I've helped them do. So I'll just go back a step. How we do this is actually putting in place all the technical information, then grouping and sourcing all of their trims and materials together so that they have it all going into one manufacturer's or one place, and then actually producing that to the high level standard with the minimum quantities that they want. So that might mean only 100 or 200 in the beginnings. So establishing that foundation in which then they can grow their brands and keep selling. And that's what we did for many years. And so this is just going back, going back and giving you a little bit of context of my background. So I just want to give you some of the background. I started after I graduated. I worked for a brand called Eccentrics. Some of you, if you're over 45, you'll remember them. And they were very, very iconic silk prints, and they pretty much invented and put the silk square and the map on in the 80s. Versace and alike copied them. Then they caused the Devoy velvet trend in the 90s, and then that has gone on. They were eventually showing on the catwalk shows, and I was with them at a time when we're a very tiny team. We went from a 200,000 turnover to going to 2 million in a space of 5 years. I was with them until 98. And this is one of the amazing times which we had where we were visited by Princess Anne, as she was the chair of the Textile Association, and she still is today. So she's very actively involved in British textiles, and especially, we have a lot to be proud of, both on the manufacturing front and also on the design particularly. We have some really incredible design companies, and it's about joining it all up and then pulling it together, and that was pretty much my role. I was talking it through with her, how we play the placement print, the lay plans, and all the technical information, how we checked every single metre of fabric, so it was consistently of the same standard for selling around the world in the highest level retailers. And eventually we culminated that during my time, so this is the last catwalk show I was involved in, in 1997. And I actually have this dress still to this day, 20 years later, which I absolutely love. And they were very exclusive and very unusual at that time. I took a lot of that experience and knowledge and moved eventually, at that point, moved on my journey and went to Hong Kong. And that's where I began a new career in design and sourcing, but based over there gave me a completely new perspective and new resources to explore. And so that really opened up manufacturing, also seeing an incredible amount of different techniques and skill sets and craftsmanship and materials at source, where they were produced and where they were created in many cases, things from like silk and also some of the incredible trims. A lot of that comes from very unusual Asian suppliers like Taiwan and Japan, who supply some of the best quality trims that you'll see in Vivu Rouleau and various other incredible sort of trim places. So it was really fascinating for me because I got to see how you could pull it all together and pull from different areas. And this led on to me setting up Katie Young Design, which was consultancy for high-end luxury labels in the British, who were British based. And so I started working with them to help them develop. So Nikki, who has La Petite Salop, she had the brand at the time, had just been shown, got a New Generation Award, shown at London Fashion Week, and huge success. Had orders of over 250,000 on her order books from her sample collection. No production set up. So she came to me and said, well, we've got to make all this stuff and we haven't got the resources available. How do I do it all as well? I've never really gone to that next stage of working with factories. So we set up the technical specs and did all the designs, pulled all the materials together, everything from using my silk supplier who did all the sequins and embroidery in India, then moving that fabric over to a factory in China where I was going to be getting the corsets from, and then marrying it all together with the silk tulle that was coming from France. And it sounds ever so complicated, but sometimes it's about, where's the source of most things, where is the best place that we can make something to pull it all together. And that's how very much my ethos, because that just saves a whole lot on time and logistics and errors, and also you want to go where the expertise is in handling certain materials as well. And so that's how we did that, and that was a great success. And it's led to 15 years on, very, very successful collections. And I did that for many brands who were at that time showing at London Fashion Week. So very sought after, but needed stable productions. So that consultancy carried me into many new sort of developments and skills, which I still had this passion for customizing unique items, and I had a passion for vintage, and that really has always inspired my work. And so I was customizing and creating and doing this markets as well, because I was actually meeting very interesting designers, because the world sort of sources from London, and some of the markets, Portobello Road, are very, very famous for getting unique pieces and causing inspiration for collections. And so that was great for me, and then that led on to eventually me launching my own label, Forever Young, and luxury fashion label. But that was rather short-lived because I very soon had, and this was how I created things from existing vintage ideas and then put them into new shapes and applied them onto fabrics and embroidery. And this really led on to showing at Fashion Week, but at the same time, suddenly arriving a little family who actually sit here today because it's half term. So they just sat in behind me, I think, in the VIP lounge. But they're now 10 and 12. But so it made me just go, okay, well, I've got enough babies that I'm running at the moment. Let's pause the collection and go back to consulting, which was great. And so it's very much about bringing that back to life at the moment. I'm bringing Forever Young back into my collections. And I have a one piece here from a client today, and we were sort of ahead of our time really in sourcing environmental fabrics, and this was a recycled polyester that we made 10 years ago with a unique collaboration with a British print designer and also a Danish brand who wanted to do a raincoat made from recycled water bottles. And there was only 2 companies in the whole world that were making the pellets to actually design these items into weaving it into a fabric, a polyester fabric that was breathable. And so this, I mean, I've been wearing this for 10 years. I absolutely love it. So my job was to tailor it, make it stylish. You can come and feel this later as well. And I've got some old sort of specs as well, and just things to just give you an idea on how you just start growing your technical information. And so that led me to developing, and sourcing sustainably as well, and just being able to pull those resources together and find the right factory partners to do all of that. Obviously the minimums were quite high back then, and that's changing now. So, you have to sort of be ready to source sometimes, you have to be ready for a larger volume sometimes for the kind of fabrics that you want to work with. And then we were started working with hospitality. Now I'm going to skip through a bit more of this because I'm sure you want to get to the nitty-gritty of how to source and develop, working with Hong Kong, China and Asia. So this is really how we just led into working with hospitality brands, because they wanted their own signature style put into hospitality textiles such as napkins, aprons, uniforms and alike. So, and we really do get hands-on, and we've worked with some of our factory partners for 20 years now, and we get, we go and see what's going on in the factory. We always see how everybody's being treated, and I love to get completely involved in, sort of like the workmanship side of it, and improving that where we can. So communicators is hugely important, and that's what I'm going to repeatedly say about when we go into the tips. And these are just some of our core product ranges that we supply for some of our high-end hospitality brands. That is also led to a big arm of my business now. So to begin sourcing in Hong Kong or in Asia, I actually think one of the best resources out there and there are many, and there is Fashion SVP that have a pool of traders, and there are sort of buying missions that the government put on, but you don't hear about them too often. But this is a website, Hong Kong Trade Development Council. They're also incredibly great to speak to on the phone. They have a London office and Asian offices, and they're a great resource in actually typing in what you actually really need. And it's in a way it's sort of more reliable than maybe Alibaba. I'm not an Alibaba fan because I think it's everyone and anyone's on there, and this has been quite a good way to start with sourcing unique things. So for example, we had an inquiry for cufflinks that we wanted to add to one of our capsule collections for a brand, and this is how we started just speaking with them, because I needed to go and set up some appointments whilst I was out in a Hong Kong trip recently. And so that was a good way to sort of just start having dialogues and conversations, and then I can go and inspect in person by following up with a meeting, which is I always like to try and follow up with going out there to have a meeting, if you can, at all possible, because I think then you can see the quality, and also you can see the variety of other things that they do. Visiting fairs, Hong Kong Fashion Week, the Canton Fair, and then following up and going around showrooms is really effective, and then going to factories. One of my factories is all the way up in Weihai, right in the north above Shanghai, and it was freezing up there because it just come back there. But they were doing a niche blanket for me, and I just really wanted to see they've been done for the Ivy collection and Bill's Restaurant Group and various other brands. And it's just about sort of actually seeing things with your own eyes is really inspiring and also helpful to feeding back and seeing what they're doing that's benefiting the brand and maybe could benefit other customers as well. And what was fascinating there was just actually seeing that you could actually, they were actually using their own well and recycling their water to wash all the blankets. And it was just, all the village, or the town was basically, many of their workers were there on average for 15 years. So they really looked after their staff because they really wanted to stay working with them, and lovely environment. So it was really eye-opening when you actually visit. You think, God, you have no idea whether they've got the same value sets, but they did. So, and I found that with everyone that I've ever worked with, pretty much, bar the odd person. But you investigate these, and you will find out those values through asking good questions. So developing your product, now that's where you really need to get down into the nitty gritty. You need to, what is the item that you're looking to? I've already repeated that about the communication, developing 2 suppliers, at least communication with 2 suppliers and then sampling with 2 suppliers gives you a backup plan. And you've also then sort of seen the costings and the communication from both. Providing technical specs, providing really good instructions, and as visually as possible, because remember, sometimes these aren't the first language for some people, whether you're working in Europe or working with a UK manufacturer. The more important, the more detail you can provide, the better it is going to be for people to understand what you're trying to achieve on that item, garment, textile. Give as many trim references, fabric references, photographs as you possibly can, and where you want certain details, and then you're going to go straight to getting your first prototype made. That first prototype might not be perfect in fit, but it might not be perfect in trim, but it will start achieving where you want to go, and then you can tweak from there. So I usually say 2 prototypes and you're nearly always there. And then you would move on to getting a final salesman sample done, and then you've gone through the costing process, and you want to do that with several different suppliers, so you've got your backup plans. Because you're also about building a sustainable supply chain for your business, so you need to know, if one source is just not working for you, you need to be able to be flexible, because you want to still supply and keep your integrity with your customers and be on time with the quality that you want delivered consistently again and again, and that's what builds a strong fashion business. So manufacturing, you really need to obviously then plan your grades. As is it size 6 to 26? And you need to communicate that ahead of time of how many your sizes are going to be, because obviously that affects the costing that the factory can then provide you in return. And then from that, you need to plan your potential ratio orders. Obviously, everything can be firmed up later down the line, but that is really important, and then confirming the time, the lead times, and then of course adding, which is often about 8 weeks if you're overseas. If it's Europe, it's more about 6 weeks, but I always then add for the shipping, and I usually add about 5 weeks, because by the time you've cleared customs and delivered it to your door or your client's door, it can take about that time. So you can actually clock up between 12 and 16 weeks on delivery times. So that's the kind of cycle, and that's when development's clear and done. So you need to make sure your development time is exact, complete, and then the production time is a whole nother ball game that you need to just be very clear from the beginning how long it's going to take with your suppliers. Be prepared then to pay your deposits at the initiation of order, because the order won't start until you're ready to pay. And then also 30%, that's usually about 30% overseas. And then I usually find first time you need to pay on as the goods are being shipped to your factory. As that improves your relationship with them and your trust and your willingness to always be on time with where your communications and your payments, they may extend terms to you, and that can require sort of maybe sending bill of lading, so everything's shipped in advance, and then they will hold the paperwork until you've made that payment. So you've got another sort of 30 days while things are being in transit and arriving at customs. But you need to pay it before it hits customs, obviously, otherwise you will be hit with storage fees and fines. And then you've got to be prepared to pay the import duty, which is usually between 9 and 12%, and then VAT, import VAT, and obviously the shipping at that point in time. So 25 years, this is just to sum up, 25 years of learning across working with textiles across heritage to hospitality. It's pretty much all the same. From fashion to food, really, is my bespoke methodology has taken from the name bespoke, really. So I begin, everything has to have beauty. Everything has to be ethically done. So that means right down to who you work with, that you have the same value set, that you believe in them, and there is strong communication, and that you've seen firsthand that they are the right people for you, and they treat people with as much kindness and respect as you expect to be treated back, and vice versa. You've got to give as much as you get as well, and build that relationship. I then, everything has to have style. It has to be stylish, whether it's a napkin or an apron, or even a dress. And the more stylish and timeless it is what my personal belief with the Forever Young brand is. It will last forever. And that's much more sustainable. We're making things that last and are made beautifully. And also it's massively about people and relationships, because these people, they are going to be your partners in crime in building your supply base, and you've got to be able to. I think if making a stranger a friend, you're going to be able to ask a favour when a favour